morning, everyone. So it is Wednesday morning. I don't usually start videos this early. It's a little bit before 8 a.m., but I thought it would be fun to have a video of just what I do in a day in the garden. Now, I'm not in the garden all day. I wish, that would be amazing, but I am lucky enough that I work from home, which means that it's easy for me to pop in and out throughout the day. I will say, I mean, right now we're maybe in the 70s, so it's pretty comfortable all day out there. It can get a little bit hot, much hotter up here than on the ground. So in like springtime, I do most of the work around noon when it's warm. When it gets warmer, I save most of my work for the morning or the evening. So that's kind of been my schedule more recently as the temperatures are climbing. Now, because it is Wednesday, there are certain things I do just on Wednesdays that I'll show you later today, but then there's the kind of regular tasks that I do every morning. So that's what we're gonna start with today. We will head up to the garden in just a bit. What I do does also change a bit throughout the season. Right now, we're kind of just done with the planting phase. Almost everything is planted in my garden, and we're just at the beginning of the maintenance phase. I feel like it kind of slows down a bit right now and then gets busier as we get further into the season. But it is really nice to start almost every morning outside. I definitely notice a change in my mood from the winter when I'm basically inside almost all the time, and spring and summer when I can finally get outside first thing in the morning. So let's go ahead and we will head out to the garden. I usually start out on the front garden for no other real reason except just out of habit. I think because this, for the last few years, was really the only garden I had, so I'm just used to kind of coming out here first. Now, the sun rises in the east, this garden faces the west, so this garden is also usually a little bit cooler in the morning, and then I'll usually be like hanging out on the back deck in the evening where it's a little cooler, but actually, I think we might be in the 60s this morning, so shouldn't be too bad out here. So we head outside. And I pause for a little to listen to the birds. But basically what I'm doing first thing in the morning is just making sure everything either got watered if my drip ran in the morning, or check to see if things need water. So actually, it rained yesterday. Well, my irrigation ran yesterday morning, and then it rained because I didn't realize it was going to rain. So I turned the irrigation system off for today. I'm still at a place where I'm not running the irrigation every morning yet. We just haven't been hot enough. So I've probably been running it every other morning, and then we just finally had a rain. So that's why it's off right now. So what I'll do is just walk around. I mean, these I can already tell there's moisture there. You know, maybe some that are a little bit covered with plants, I'll stick my finger in. But I know for the most part, these are all good on water. I'll check one of the larger raised beds just to make sure. Oh yeah, we are good there as well. So all of this here is set up on the Proven Winners drip. Over here is set up on the Carpathian system. So again, just because they're on different irrigation systems, I want to make sure each of those little sections are in fact a little moist and they're good. And then these pots here, the herbs, are typically the ones that dry out the fastest. They're the smallest and they're terracotta. I can tell looking at them that they are good because the soil is darker. So yeah, I think we are all good to go on everything that's hooked up to my drip system being watered. If for some reason it wasn't, instead of hand watering any of this, I would just run the drip system right now. I have it set to run, I think Proven Winners goes at 6, and then the Carpathian goes at 6:30. So yeah, I just try to come out after that and make sure everything is looking good. I don't see anything like falling over dead, so that is also good. Now, there are some of my pots that are not hooked up to drip, either because I was too lazy to want to do it, or I know I don't need to water them that often. So the strawberry, moist, that's good there. Blueberries, moist. Raspberries are moist. So these larger pots, with my blueberries and raspberries. I usually only water those maybe once every 3 days if we don't get any rain. So those I do water by hand. And then we have obviously the self-watering containers, so they are also not on drip. Oh, but look how pretty. This is also part of my morning routine, is literally just staring at my plants and how pretty they look. Now I also noticed we have a ripe strawberry here. So I'm not really harvesting much right now, but if I do see anything that seems ready, there might be a blueberry too. Look at that. We have aphids on here, so trying to keep those under control. But look at that. I mean, small, but it's exciting because I think this is only the third strawberry and the first blueberry that I've harvested. This whole section here, my flower cart, is not hooked up to drip at all, so this 100% has to be watered by me. And again, because we got rain, I can look at the soil first of all. Like, this is all dark. I know that's damp. I can't see the soil in here, so I will reach my finger down. That is damp. Everything is damp, so we should be good to not have to water here. The smaller pots I definitely water more often than the larger ones, so yeah, I'm just checking everything myself with my finger before I water. I will say sometimes, especially as the plants get larger and fill out the containers more, if they're really full, they could potentially block the rain from actually getting into the container. That happened to me actually with my raspberries over there. I thought because it had rained for a few days, they were fine, but the canopy made it so the rain wasn't actually getting into the pot, so I had to water them. So I do make sure, especially as we get further into the season and the plants cover the containers, that they are still getting the water that they need. So honestly, that's really it that I do right now, other than go around and take pictures of things that look pretty and then post them on Instagram. But if we were in like August, I would probably be harvesting some more things throughout the morning, but this is really it for now. First off, the view from inside this room looking out makes me so happy. I think, one, because, there really wasn't anything out here the last few years other than the furniture and maybe a handful of like overflow pots from the front garden, but I wasn't really doing anything on this scale for sure, but anything that was really a cohesive look. And being able to walk up here and look out these doors. So there's, on the front deck, we have the 2 doors here, and then the back deck, there's this extra, which is technically a window, but the size of a door. So much more light comes in here, and you can see much more of the garden before you actually get outside. I think too, because I've been following a particular color scheme of pink, purple, orange, and white, it's, I don't know, has a more overall beautiful look. Like, I feel like it all works together a lot better than the front garden, which I also love the front garden too, in the mix of colors, but this honestly takes my breath away in the morning when I come up, and it's not even like completely filled in yet, so I can't even imagine when everything is full grown. But with all that fawning over the garden, I don't want to make the front garden jealous. Let's head out. So you can see here, it's much sunnier right now than on the front deck. Actually, it doesn't feel that bad. I feel bad complaining. I complain in the winter about being too cold, and then there's like a week period where there's no complaints, and then I complain in the summer about being too hot. But it does feel much warmer up here than it does if I was just walking on the ground. So here is a look at everything. What is set up on drip now, which is also off again because it rained. Everything along the perimeter on the ground, basically. So what's not is that pot, but that's large enough that I really only water once a week. The 2 containers sitting up there because I don't want to run drip up there because you'd see it. I like how they look up there, and I water those by hand. And then these are all hand watered as well. The only other thing on the perimeter that needs to be hand watered, these are all out here because getting ready to paint inside, those aren't normally here, are the small Gomphrena pots. And again, these dry out the fastest because of the terracotta and the size. So these are good to go from the rain, and I know if those are good to go, then pretty much everything else is going to be good. But look at how pretty. See, just having the same color scheme throughout, I feel like it definitely ties everything together. We have first. Cosmos. This is so exciting. I love this time of year seeing the first of everything, so that's really nice. Now what I also see over here are some holes in my dahlia leaves. So these are one of the things I'll look for in the morning to figure out what I need to do. Oh no. Wonder what that is. I almost thought that on the end was a caterpillar, but that's just the leaf curling over. So I'll take a look at this plant now, decide if I do anything right now, or if I just come out later when I'm going to treat for budworms tonight and do that at the same time. So I might need 2 hands for this to look through, but I'll let you know if I discover what it is. Let's check my other dahlias though and see if anything else is similarly meat-eaten. That one looks good. All the caladiums I still need to find places for. This one looks good. My little lemon tree, there's some little lemons growing on it. Actually, I haven't checked this one for scale in a while. Doesn't look too bad. I see like one there I'll scrape off. See a few there I will scrape off. So then I'm making note right now that I need to treat this one with neem oil after I scrape off all of the remaining scale. Let's see, you guys look good. Where's my other dahlia? Over here, I see a couple holes in one leaf, but not as bad as the other one. So I will take a closer look at those. I think everything else looks pretty good. This is the shade border that is still filling in. So now let's look at things that are pretty. First off, the Tough Stuff Aha. Now when I planted this, so I got this from Chalet Nursery in Wilmette, Illinois. It is a mountain hydrangea, so should be a little bit more hardy in the Chicago temperatures. I didn't add any acidifier to it myself. I was planning to let it be pink because that's the main color back here. But look, it's turning blue, which I actually don't mind. So I'm assuming, and I think I read this in a hydrangea book that I'm going through to try to learn more about hydrangeas, that most of the work in turning these blue happens like in the fall of the previous year. So I think that's probably what's happening here, that they have been treating it to turn blue, adjusting the pH of the soil it was growing in. So now it is still blue. I don't know if probably won't remain blue throughout the whole season, but I thought that was so pretty. And then we have some of the actual flower leaves right in there. So how fun is that? I am absolutely loving this hydrangea. Hopefully I don't kill it over winter. Other pretty things, some more of the Nemesia. Now this is not the mulberry one. Let's see the name of this one. So this is the Superbena Pink. So this is the just a Romance Pink Nemesia. And look how pretty. I've never grown Nemesia in the garden before, but now I feel like that's something that I am gonna have to make sure to get every single year because I've been loving it, especially these last few weeks here. Now we also have, look at how pretty that is. I think that's the first open bloom I've seen of this plant. So this is the Superbena Pink Cashmere. And then I also have in here the Superbena Pink Sparkling Rosé, not Sparkling Rose. So yeah, those are kind of the standout things, pretty things in my garden. The tricolor potato vine, sweet potato vine, is doing it really well. I was nervous about it, but we'll see as the heat increases how this does in the garden. But yeah, that's what's looking pretty right now. So nothing that I have to do to water. I'm going to do a closer inspection of the dahlia, and then that'll probably be it for out in the garden this morning. I found the culprit. I'm sure there's more, so I'm going to keep looking, but I think this is a cutworm moth. I'm not the best at identifying moths or caterpillars, but I saw the moth out here a few weeks ago, so I'm going to assume this is one of its offsprings. Now I am going to treat preventatively for budworms on my petunias tonight. That is my normal Wednesday routine. So I will also just make a note to spray the dahlias tonight. The BT spray that I use is meant specifically to target caterpillars. So hopefully I can control these on the dahlias. Now this is the first one I've seen. One could cause the amount of damage that I saw on that dahlia, but I'm gonna keep looking. I'm gonna make a note to keep looking over the next few days also. I'm also gonna check the other dahlias I have out here because there's only 4, so that doesn't take too long. Well, I checked all the other dahlia leaves. I didn't see any other caterpillars other than that one, but I know that they tend to not be out during the day and come out in the evening, so I know there are more in there somewhere. So I'll just add it to my list of plants to spray tonight and then just keep an eye on it for the next few days. But this is the first time I think I've had caterpillars on my dahlias, even though it is common for that to happen. Luckily, I don't have that many dahlias and they're not that big yet, so it's pretty easy just to flip over all the leaves and do a quick pest check. But I think that's everything as far as what I'm gonna do right now. I'll show you a few other pretty things outside that I noticed. And then we probably won't be back out into the garden until maybe like 6 or 7 tonight. I mean, I might be back out to sit outside and maybe do some work outside, but as far as garden tasks, probably not again until this evening, but we'll kind of see where the day takes us. Other pretty things are this zinnia. So this is the one I got from a friend. So I don't know exactly what it is, but I did know the word pastel was like in the name. So that's a pretty, it might look more white on camera, but it's like very, very, very pale, kind of peachy color almost. So I really like that. I'm also in love, and I know I showed this in the tour, but I am in love with the Super Bells Double Smitten Pink. These are just the prettiest flower. So yeah, I mean, everything in the garden I love. Those are a few of my favorites. And we are wrapped up with garden tasks for now. I will be back out here later today. All right, we are back outside. It is 6:10 right now. And what I need to do that I know for sure is go around and treat all of my petunias with the BT spray that I'm gonna use. Also treat my dahlias. I did just take a look and I still don't see any more caterpillars, but I know they're there. I also think I'm gonna check my tomato plants for any suckers that need to be removed because I haven't done that yet. And then just kind of seeing what else might pop up while we were out here. So let me first talk about what I'm doing to treat my petunias this year. So I have a lot more than I ever have before, which hopefully means that even if I didn't treat, maybe they wouldn't be able to destroy all of them, but I'm sure the caterpillars can figure out a way to destroy every single petunia I have in my garden. What I did in the past is just treat once I see the issue, but I want to try to be more preventative this year. So that's why I'm going to use the BT spray, and let me show you what that is. So this is what I'm using to treat the caterpillars in my garden. This is from Bonide. It's Thuricide Bacillus thuringiensis, which is what the BT stands for. And this is, I think it's a naturally occurring bacteria, so it is something that is organic, and it's made just to treat issues with caterpillars. So it's not going to harm any beneficial insects, no bees, butterflies, or birds, which is great. So this is a very targeted product. This specific one was recommended to me at Gethsemane when I went in there last year and said something's eating all my petunias. Was it 2 years ago? It might have been 2 years ago now. And this is what they recommended. And it's worked well. Like I said in the past, I've only done once I've seen it being an issue. Now I'm going to see how it works preventatively. I'm hoping that I don't have a time period in the season where all of my flowers have been eaten like I did last year. At least that is the hope. Now, I don't think I plan to use this on anything that I will eat, but you can actually use it on edible plants and use it up until the day of harvest, and that is completely safe and fine to do. So that is good to note. Now, how this works is it has to be ingested by the caterpillar. So you spray it onto the plant, the caterpillar eats it, and it takes about 2 to 3 days to make them no longer active in your garden. So the best time to do this is in the evening for a few reasons. One, it's usually in the evening around dusk when the budworms start to come out, and they usually are eating overnight. And also, this can be degraded in the sunlight. So the sun can actually lessen the impact of it. So that's why I like to do it around this time when the sun's no longer really hitting directly anywhere in my garden, so that hopefully it's still potent enough to take care of the caterpillars. Now, this is the concentrated version, so I do have to dilute it. and the recommended dilution is 4 teaspoons per gallon. I use a 32 ounce spray bottle that I have labeled so I don't forget which spray bottle is for the BT. So this is 32 ounces, a gallon is 128 ounces, so it's 4 teaspoons for a gallon. This is 1/4 of a gallon, so I take 1/4 of 4, which is 1. I always like when math comes into play in the garden. So I have basically 1 teaspoon of the BT spray in this bottle. The rest is just water, mix it together, and you can't leave this more than 12 hours. So it's, let's say I use half this bottle, I can't leave it until my weekly treatment next week because it's no longer going to be effective. So I do refill this every time I use it, but I mean, I'm spraying a lot because I have a lot of petunias, so I go through this bottle pretty quickly. So I think now I'm ready to go around and start spraying. It is going to be very repetitive, so I probably won't show me spraying every single thing, but at least take you up close and show you how you do it, and then that's basically what I repeat all the way around my garden on any of the petunias. They also really like geraniums, so if you have any geraniums, I would spray them preventatively as well. I know there are other flowers, I would look it up and see what else budworms really like, but those are the 2 I've had in my garden that were eaten pretty regularly by budworms. But again, it can also occur on vegetables, so if you want to use this to treat it on those, you can do that too. I'm going to start in my center raised bed with the Super Petunia Bubblegum Vista. This really doesn't take as long as I expected it to. I think this is my 3rd or 4th week now of preventative sprays. I thought it would take a lot longer based on the amount that I have, but it's really not that bad. Maybe like 10 minutes total. But what you want to do is you want to cover all sides of leaves and the flowers, and you want to saturate them but not where there's a ton of runoff. And then I also like to spray around the soil. Other things to mention, I would definitely recommend wearing gloves anytime I'm working with any sort of fertilizer or spray in the garden. I will wear gloves. Also, I would test first. You want to test a little portion just in case there are any negative impacts on the actual plant itself. There was some spray I can't remember that I used and it turned my petunia flowers white, so I was glad I did a little test spot. So do that to make sure that everything is good to go before you spray your entire garden with something new. I'm done spraying the petunias out here. So now before we head back, I'm just gonna, I see a tomato. Look, do you see this tomato right there? I don't know if you can see it or if the stem is blocking it and I don't want to break it off, but there it is. So what I need to do is look for any suckers, which I see one right here, because I don't want this plant to go too crazy. So the only sucker that I haven't removed so far, obviously the plant is still relatively small, but that looks good. This one over here, I do see some more. I think the Zinnia is in the way, but there's a sucker right here. I'm gonna pull that out. And honestly, I just drop them in the grow bag, like in the soil in the grow bag, and they just break down there. Any more? Yeah, you're a sucker. You're trying to hide from me. All right, I think I'm good on these plants. So now we can head out to the back deck. So now I need to get in to that grow bag there and spray this Dahlia. I'm probably gonna spray all my Dahlias along with the Super Petunias just because I know there's already caterpillars on them, so it makes sense to spray them all now, even the ones that don't necessarily have any holes in the leaves. So I think I'm good now for my tasks for this evening. I sprayed all my petunias, my dahlias, I pinched the suckers on my tomatoes. I think I'm good. So now it is 6:50. So yeah, I maybe spend between like 45 minutes. Well, no, I'd say if I didn't stop and look at all my plants, I'd probably just be like 30 minutes in the morning, and maybe like 30 to 45 minutes in the evening in my garden. And I really, really love it. I could spend all day out here if I was able to. So yeah, that's kind of just a regular day for me in the garden. Some days are busier, some days are not. I feel like we'll definitely be busier as the plants get larger and I have to start harvesting a lot more. But yeah, that's just a typical day for me in the garden. So thank you so much for following along, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.